Some defeats are bigger than the scoreboard. They bury dreams, silence generations of expectation, and mark the end of an era. On a warm evening in Boston, Germany didn't simply lose a football match, they watched another chapter of their World Cup legacy fade into the shadows. Ever since lifting the trophy in Rio in 2014, the four-time world champions have been searching for themselves. The warning signs were already there against Ecuador in the final group stage game. Germany monopolized possession, but possession without purpose is merely an illusion of control. They struggled to create clear chances, managed only 3 shots on target, and looked painfully short of ideas whenever they reached the final third. Jamal Musiala and Florian Wirtz, expected to inspire this generation, were unable to unlock stubborn defenses, while Julian Nagelsmann's tactical decisions, from trusting an out-of-form Leroy Sané to restoring Manuel Neuer as his undisputed number 1, would soon come under intense scrutiny. Paraguay, meanwhile, arrived with a completely different philosophy. Gustavo Alfaro didn't ask his players to dominate the ball, he asked them to dominate every blade of grass. Germany completed hundreds of passes, controlled nearly 80% of possession, and yet every passing lane seemed to disappear into a wall of blue and white shirts. It was defensive football at its purest, disciplined, fearless, and relentless. Then, almost out of nowhere, came the breakthrough. Neuer punched away a corner, the ball was recycled brilliantly, Matías Galarza delivered a perfect cross, and Julio Enciso, one of the shortest players at the tournament, rose above everyone to head Paraguay into the lead. It wasn't just a goal. It was belief taking flight. Extra time arrived with an air of inevitability. Germany pushed harder than ever, and finally thought they had found their winner when Jonathan Tah powered home a towering header. The celebrations erupted. Hearts raced. Then came VAR. The goal was ruled out after a foul on the goalkeeper was spotted in the build-up. Germany's greatest moment of the night vanished in seconds. They will point to that decision for years to come, but the harsh truth remains, they simply were not good enough to win this football match. Then came the penalty shootout, where football often abandons logic and embraces pure emotion. Havertz missed. Woltmade missed. Germany stood on the edge of elimination. Yet fate offered one final chance. Antonio Sanabria failed to convert for Paraguay. Manuel Neuer produced a huge save from Fabian Balbuena. Suddenly, hope returned. For one breathtaking moment, it felt as though destiny had chosen Germany once again. But football can be wonderfully cruel. With experienced attackers still available, Jonathan Tah stepped forward for the decisive kick. His effort sailed hopelessly over the crossbar, and with José Canale calmly dispatching the final penalty, Paraguay completed the greatest night in their football history. This was more than an upset. It was history rewritten. Germany lost a World Cup penalty shootout for the first time ever. Even more painfully, they failed to reach the round of 16 for a third consecutive World Cup, a reality that would have seemed unimaginable just over a decade ago. Questions will now surround Julian Nagelsmann. Questions about selection, tactics, identity, and whether this once great footballing giant has lost the qualities that defined it for generations. For football fans around the world, Germany's exit is a genuine loss. A potential France versus Germany showdown now exists only in imagination. But on the other side stood a nation celebrating the greatest victory it has ever known. Paraguay didn't win because they had more possession. They won because they had greater belief, unwavering discipline, and hearts that refused to surrender. That is the beauty of the World Cup. It has never belonged to the biggest names or the richest histories alone. It belongs to those brave enough to suffer together, defend together, and dream together. On a magical night in Boston, Germany discovered how painfully fragile football's greatest empires can be, and Paraguay reminded the world that sometimes history is written not by the favorites, but by those who never stop believing.